Okay, so you've learned a little bit about what problem solving means. We're going to talk about a problem solving process. I'm going to give you a little bit of some pieces and components of that problem solving process to think about too. So problem solving is everything I need to do to get from my current situation that I don't like so much to my more perfect solution or a better solution. And so that's like everything I need to do from getting, okay, it's kitten season and there's just too many kittens, which I love kittens, but we probably don't need to be overrun by kittens, to having fewer kittens during kitten season, right? Some cats are fine. Too many is a problem. Or there's not enough housing for people, not enough affordable housing to having a better amount of affordable housing. Or the bridge is broken to getting to a situation where the bridge is no longer broken, I can drive across it. So it's all the work I need to do to get from that one place to the other. In group work, it needs to be systematic. There needs to be like a step-by-step process that you can follow. It's got to have specific procedures. Everybody needs to know what those are. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video, is what some of those procedures would be. And it needs to be really analytical. So it takes the information about the specific situation at hand and it analyzes it and applies that knowledge that it learned to being able to make a better solution and knowing what would be most effective. So there are three components to any problem. You already know what two of them are. One's that undesirable situation, right? Too many kittens, not enough housing, broken bridge. The more desirable situation is the second component. So that's fewer kittens, enough housing, or at least more housing, and the bridge works, okay? And the obstacles to change are all the things that get in the way of getting from the current situation to a better situation. So it could be things like time, money, just literally the level of difficulty of the task. A lot of the time it's community buy-in. So if people don't think that fixing the bridge is important, or people don't think that resolving the overpopulation of kittens is important, or they don't care about affordable housing, that's going to be a huge obstacle to change, like that mental shift. With an issue like affordable housing, I'm probably going to run into things like time, money, finances, land. I got to have land to be able to put these things up. I got to have people who are willing to work on the project. I got to have people, somebody's got to probably own that, so to speak, whether it's the government or not. Lots and lots of different things. Oh, permits, regulations, all kinds of different issues about access and resources that are going to pop up for that. So that's what obstacles to change are, is all the things that makes it harder to get from one place to another. And again, some of those can be like attitudes and beliefs people have about the issue. Maybe they don't see kitten overpopulation as an issue, or maybe they're not concerned about overpopulation or affordable housing, so they don't want to solve the problem. That can be an obstacle to change. Related to that, you have what we call the area of freedom. It's kind of a funny term, but what that means is how much the area of freedom the group has to solve the problem. What are the limits? What are the constraints? And what are they allowed to do within the given situation? So, maybe you are allowed to implement certain kinds of programs, but not others. You're only allowed to use a certain piece of land, but you can't use a different piece of land. I can think of some people who, I don't know, cats just became a theme today, but some people I know that do cat rescue, and they run into issues like, okay, I can put my cat feeding station in this location, but I can't put it here, and just stuff like that. These are the limits about what I'm allowed, the amount of stuff I can collect from community members, and these are the stuff that I can't do. Whatever the limits are that the group has been given about the task at hand, that's what the area of freedom is. So it's pretty important because it can put some good solutions, it can take them so that they're off the table. So for this class, the problem solving method, remember I told you about structure, you need structure as a group. The problem solving method that you're going to use is called PMOPS. It's a silly name, but at least it's easy to remember. It stands for the procedural model of problem solving. It's very similar to some other problem solving methods, like there's one called the standard agenda. They're almost exactly the same, but I tell you that because groups actually really do use PMOPS or standard agenda or some other problem solving methods in practice. If you think back to the video we watched about IDEO, they're actually using a very similar method to both of these processes. And I've been in a lot of different groups over the course of my professional career, and I have been in ones where we use this and it was really effective. And I've also experienced a group that would not use the problem solving model, and it was not good. It was a bad situation. So it's a framework. It has 6 steps, and you're probably going to spend the most time in step number 1. So step number 1 is description and analysis of the problem. That's research, going out into the community, learning a lot online, lots of articles, over and over, research, research, research. You break it down into lots of different pieces, you brainstorm, you try to come up with each piece of the problem, all that stuff. You're going to spend a lot of time in description and analysis. Then you move to generating and explaining possible solutions, and that's where you start brainstorming. Here are some things that will work to solve our problem. You might break out a whiteboard, you write them all down, you just get as many solutions as you can think about. And then you separate, we talked about this in the creativity chapter, you want to separate idea generation from selection, and evaluation. So in step 3, that's when you actually get to evaluate them, and you say, okay, these ones can work, and these ones maybe don't work because they're too expensive, or they have flaws, or they won't really solve the problem. So you kind of start to separate them out, and you might even in the evaluation phase like combine similar ideas. You might even kick some of the ones that just won't work out. So I narrow my pool, and I've evaluated, and I've got a good picture about what should be good or better at least. And then for step 4, I pick the best one. So that's where hopefully 1 or 2 solutions have risen to the top clearly, and then I talk about them some more, and then I go ahead and decide, okay, this is the thing I'm going to do. And then step 5 is I actually implement it. So whatever the decision I made, how I was going to solve this problem with my group, then I actually go and implement it, and I make it work. I build those affordable housing units. I start my feral kitten stations and collection program, so that they all get spayed and neutered. I actually go out in the community and I do the work, or maybe it's something at work and you go and implement your solution. And then finally, what I need to do on the tail end of all that is to evaluate my solution and check my work and see if it actually did what it was supposed to do. Did building those affordable housing units have an impact? Hopefully, but I need to measure that. Did my feral kitten rescue and spay and neuter program lower the overall number of kittens out there? I hope so, but I need to kind of try to, that's going to be a hard one to track, but I need to try to track it somehow. I need to make some effort to do that. Okay, so that's what I do for this particular step. I go through all these steps, and that's the overview of the model, and that's what you would do in any group. And again, I've seen groups really do this at work over and over again. So for your projects, you're going to be using this model as a lens to see the problem that you've selected to work on with your group, and you're going to be giving a final presentation that breaks these things down in kind of like a if I had actually been able to do this, right? You're going to imagine that you implemented the solution. You can't actually implement the solution in a 6-week time period as a Butte College student, but you're going to imagine that you implemented the solution, and then you're going to discuss how you would actually do that and how you might evaluate your solution. So this is the exact process that I want you to use for presentation number 3, and it's a very common process. I know I said that already, that I've seen this used in groups before, but I've used this in the workplace, and it's typically really successful, and I've seen situations where groups didn't do this and it didn't go so well. So you want to make sure you use some kind of problem solving method. It doesn't have to be this one, but for this class it has to be this one. But in the workplace, you just want to use some kind of clear, concrete, step-by-step problem solving method. This is a really common one though, so it's a great one to teach. And I hope you have a better understanding of what problem solving means now.